Hello everyone, I'm a film major who never watches any films, so I decided recently to watch the newest Joker movie that had came out sometime last year, 2 years ago maybe. I watched it on HBO Max, so finally got around to it. Obviously, content warning for both the film and this review. The film talks a lot about mental health, whether that's directly or indirectly. So, of course, I'm going to be covering that because the film has some interesting takes, and we'll just kind of jump right into it. The film starts off talking about how there is a trash garbage strike going on. So trash is just piling up in the city, but this is obviously a metaphor. The city is a metaphor for how the citizens are being taken care of, namely their mental health. So there's a TV running on in the background in the opening where it talks about, some of the people's feelings on the garbage strike that's happening, and they say things like, they talk about garbage, but I'm just going to substitute garbage for mental health so that you can kind of see it just plain as day. So, mental health affects everybody. A doctor says there's no need to wait until somebody dies of a sickness. It's best to treat it right away. And then cuts to more citizens. People don't like seeing it. It's a mess. Just lock them up in a room. The city didn't used to be this way. Now it's all changing. The government should just send in police officers and get rid of it all. So those are some of the ideas that they lay out right at the beginning, that showing how taking care of mental health isn't accepted, at least in this movie, and probably in a broader sense of society today. This movie's kind of like a society meme movie, so that's how it starts off. So it kind of gives you a bit of a framing of what to expect for this movie, as the city itself kind of unraveling is a metaphor for everybody has undiagnosed or diagnosed mental health issues that need to be taken care of, appropriately, whatever that may be for each individual person. This movie is kind of hard to interpret because you have such unreliable narrators, and I just mean to say that, when people are going through their episodes or whatever, it's hard to kind of take them at their face value, and we just have to take what we can see. So it kind of paints the Joker as he is a bad guy, but then also like a bunch of bad stuff is happening to him that's making him this kind of person that he is, which, makes sense. So he is a bad guy, but so is the environment that he's in, the people that treat him a certain way. But then it's also hard because we realize sometimes that he is forming these fake relationships in his mind, that he daydreams a lot and he kind of makes up scenarios in his head, and the movie kind of shifts between those sometimes, so it's hard to tell sometimes what is real, what's actually going on, and what's in his head. And if we had a more unbiased viewpoint of the film, we'd be able to understand that a lot better. But this is a film, so they went with the more artistic choice of, only some of it that you see is true, and then some of it is fake, and some of it is made up. And so that's kind of hard to kind of navigate and understand, what would be the best course of action? How do we help these people? It's just very hard and confusing just because we have so many unreliable narrators. The mom's an unreliable narrator to her son, who's obviously been abused and has his own problems, and so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like the blind leading the blind a little bit, where they're just kind of further perpetuating each other into their madness, and it kind of just is one big spiral. I mentioned before that the Joker is kind of a good guy and a bad guy because, he does try and tackle things like systematic oppression, whether he tries to directly or not. he feels the effects of the system, whether he is fully able to articulate that or point that out to other people, but that is kind of some of his main gripes. His mother worked for Wayne Company, and they were supposed to, have taken care of after being separated from the company, with things like housing, good living situation, mental provision, and they have none of those things, And so it's rough to see because it's like these broken promises, but then of course it goes back to unreliable narrators. The mom may say that, but is that really true? We kind of see the Thomas Wayne, the president of the company, saying those kind of things are provided for their employees, but it's hard to really know the full story because we can't really trust the mom because she's an unreliable narrator, and then we can't really trust Thomas Wayne because he is a big corporate elite, and his main focus is himself and his dollar bottom line, and he is running for mayor, so he's got a whole political campaign, so obviously he's trying to make himself look as best as possible, and while he's propping himself up, the city is further plunging into just horrible conditions, like with the garbage strike that's going on because they're not getting paid or whatever. So the garbage isn't getting picked up, which means apartment rates are going up. So housing prices are going up. Heating and oil prices are going up, so people can't heat their homes effectively. And so it just really goes to show how, someone who is like Thomas Wayne, who runs lots of things in the city. He's running for mayor. He's a perfect person, very politically active, and the city has gone to shit. Nothing's getting taken care of, and that is because of him. When you're a billionaire in the city, you could be able to take care of it, especially when you claim to, care for not only your employees but the city as well, and then nothing's happening, and you're not funding anything. You have the disposable income and you could be paying these garbage workers, but no, you're not doing that. You're not having them have good wages, and so the city just kind of goes to shit, both in a physical sense and then in like a mental health sense as well. Let's see, what was I gonna go on to? The Joker, he is unironically funny. He's or I guess unintentionally funny is what I meant, not unironically. He'll just, it seems like he's being ironic at times, so he'll laugh at inappropriate moments, but that's just like his condition. Or he'll say something just kind of dark or left field, and it's pretty funny in the moment, but it's just because he lacks like the social awareness to kind of scout out those situations to be able to respond in a way that most people would consider appropriate. And I find myself doing that too sometimes, but it's usually as a joke, but he just does it straight out, flat out, just because that's the way he kind of, his brain is wired and the way he understands things. God, fucking phone. There were some moments too that were pretty cringe, like he said, "Oh, I used to think my life was a tragedy, and now I understand it's a comedy," and that's one of those like, okay, dude. And he even repeats it later to like an audience, and they all boo him for that line because, rightfully so. That is a terrible line. It just. But it just kind of goes to show that, something that he might think is really awesome just doesn't land socially, just because he doesn't know how to navigate those kind of situations. And then the last thing that I really wanted to talk about was just how the whole movie is basically a metaphor, and they even say it directly that lots of people need like twice as much therapy, and they need better doctors and better healthcare and better living situations, because if they didn't have such shitty living conditions, they would be able to kind of get out of these bad situations more. There wouldn't be this echo chamber between like the mom and the son just kind of not being able to help each other, even though it kind of seems like they are, it kind of really unravels to show how they're not really taking care of each other. They might be physically, but they're definitely not able to help each other mentally, which is where they would need more professionals. But without the kind of aid that you would need to kind of get like the medication to kind of like stabilize you, or the kind of therapy to be able to talk through certain things, especially in this film where this character has obviously gone through a bunch of like childhood abuse where he doesn't maybe realize it, and it's kind of affected him and shaped how he thinks and how he sees the world today. Some of that stuff kind of needs to definitely be unpacked, and and it's just not provided. It is for a little bit, but if it's provided here, then it's taking away from something over here, and then this part of his life starts to unravel, so he has to take away this thing. And another thing is, obviously, going off your meds is not a good thing. That is pretty flat out stated. He eventually goes off his meds, and he's like, oh, I feel better than I ever have before, and then he goes on like this crazy manic episode. So, not trying to like say that he is crazy or anything, but he does go through a manic episode after not taking any of his meds. But he hasn't been taking his meds because he can't afford it. He doesn't have the systems in place to be able to afford those things, to kind of get the kind of help that he needs. And so it's kind of hard, because it's like, can you really blame him for being in this situation? I don't know, and that's kind of where the movie is. It's very ambiguous with how it kind of tackles a lot of these things. It says, hey, these systems are in place, and these systems are in place to help people, and then all these systems are in place to stop people from getting that help that they need. And that's about as far as it goes. There's no real broader statement. It's just kind of society bad, which, yes, sure. Yes, the system needs to be changed. Yes, more people need help, mental health. Probably everybody, honestly. Everybody lives in the city. Everybody's got garbage that needs taking out. And that's, that goes back to the beginning. Everybody has garbage that they need taking out. Everybody has help that they need. But, most people in the city don't have any way of kind of engaging with that. And for some people, it's a lot worse. And that's about it with the movie. That's my takeaway anyways. It's pretty good. I don't think they're going to do any kind of continuation, Batman lore or anything. Yeah, I don't know. It was obviously, it was a good movie. The actor did a fantastic job with the Joker role. The music was great. The cinematography was fantastic. The messaging was a little bit ambiguous, and I don't really know exactly what I think about it. But it is a good movie for sure, so it's above a 5. I'm thinking I'm landing around a 7. Yeah. I think a 7 for right now. If I think about it more and I really like the messaging of the film, I might bump it up to an 8. If I dislike it more, I might drop it down to a 6. But on initial viewing, after seeing it literally 10 minutes ago, I'm gonna say that's a 7.